Hey, everybody. Welcome to today's live. I'm really excited. Today is all about softball. And I don't know if Josh is going to be coming on. I have a baseball player who had some things going on that he might be able to join us throughout this live. But I'm really excited to have Lexi and Presley with me. They are people who came over the past. Lexi, when did you start with me?
Just about March of this year, February or March of this year.
And Press, when did you start? Is it about the same?
Yeah.
This season sometime. And these two both play softball. I'm going to have them introduce themselves, and then we're going to talk a little bit about why they came to me. We're going to talk about some of the strategies that they learned and what they're using now. And then their advice to any athletes that could use just some of their advice with their situation.
So everyone, my name is Lexi Winters. I'm 18 years old. I will be a freshman at UNC Charlotte in the fall to play softball there. I'm a catcher and corner infielder, but primarily a catcher.
Okay, Press.
Hi, I'm Presley. I play for the Minnesota Vortex. My position, I'm a pitcher and a first baseman and some outfield.
Absolutely. And how old are you?
Oh, I'm 13.
And you played on varsity this past season? And Lexi, you played varsity when you were in 7th grade.
Yes, ma'am.
As well. So you two have a lot in common. Your varsity years in middle school, which I think is amazing and astonishing and shows your talent and shows your ability. And then we all know that this sport can be extremely mentally challenging. And so I just want you each to maybe talk a little bit about what struggles were you having, or what struggles you experiencing before we met, and what brought you to me?
So my dad found Miss Stacy's Facebook page just one day when he was looking around, because for years I've had a lot of struggles with self-esteem and confidence. And obviously that fed directly into my performance in softball and volleyball. So it was right before high school season was starting, or my high school softball season starts. And I was just struggling with the transition from travel ball to high school ball. And my confidence was shot. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't think I could play to my standards and expectations I had for myself. That was the biggest issue. And another common problem was my interactions with teammates, and me so worried about what everyone else thought about me and how everyone else thought about my performance, not really how I felt about myself playing. So those were like the two main issues that I had.
Which is so common for normal, growing up. We're all worried about whatever everybody else is thinking. We don't know we have an A circle, so we've got a lot of things going on. We're worried about what our coaches are thinking, our parents are thinking, and our teammates. So that all gets in our way of us being able to even think about what we need to do. And also, like you said, confidence. When people will say, be confident, you can do it, don't worry about it. It's one of those things where, what does that even mean? And so it gets kind of like the lack of confidence kind of just overtakes things when we don't have a solution for what we need to do in the moment. Mm-hmm. Presley, for you, I know your mom, and your mom is my first cousin. But for you, from your perspective, what was going on before we met?
The biggest thing was what other people thought of me. I didn't want to let people down, and I cared about who was watching, because I wanted to be good for them. And I was just so nervous that I wouldn't do good, that I forgot that what I'm actually doing. So Yeah.
And Presley, I remember you had played on was it like a team or was some kind of camp where you were invited to as a seventh grader? For you, what was that?
It was for tryouts last year. Okay, so I was with you last year too.
Okay.
Like exactly this time. And I was just when they were like it was my first year going into club, and I had already gotten a bunch of offers without even trying out for people because they watched me all summer apparently, but I never saw them. So it kind of made me little it was like scary because like I knew that people were watching me, but I didn't know where they were. So I was like, okay, there's people watching me, so I have to like do good so I can like still have a spot on this team.
Mm-hmm. And now, and then when I saw both of you, can you just give me maybe an example of a strategy or something that you were able to use to support you? Like, do you remember when something clicked with you where you were able to use it on the field, or do you have an experience on what was helpful for you back then? Lex, do you want to start?
Yeah, I will. The biggest thing was, it's probably the most common thing, but A circle, B circle, and C circle. I had a very bad issue with letting outside noise and other things that weren't related to what I was doing as I was playing, and I would let all those outside things affect how I played and like my performance. So being able to actually like picture and imagine me taking something and putting it into my C circle and keeping it away from what's on my mind at the time allowed me to clear my mind and play the best I could and perform at like what I expected myself to, because I wasn't letting everything else just interfere with what I was doing at that exact time.
And I remember talking with you, and I don't know if this is what you remember, but I remember you were playing in like your last senior game.
Mm-hmm.
And with a lot of, you're going to college, you're playing softball in college, you had a lot of things in that experience. Can you just tell people a little bit about your experience with that last game and what was going on to show what you were able to do?
So it was my senior night for my high school season. And of course, being teenage girls, there's always some type of drama that always comes up. And it was during warm-ups, right before we were about to go onto the field. And a bunch of drama started, like moments before they were calling us out for our senior names with our parents. I Someone accused me of things and just common teenage girl high school drama. And I lost it. I broke down into tears, went into the locker room, and my mom came and checked on me. It was not the best moment, but my mom kept telling me, because I let her let her know about everything I was learning with Miss Stacy during the couple months, and she was telling me to push it off, put it in your C circle. You don't need it in that. You don't need it in your A circle at the time, because it was my last high school, or it could have been my last high school game. And so I had to take all that drama and all the little teenage girl drama, take it up, put it in the C circle, and allow myself to play the game. And I actually played really good, and I went 2 for 3 with a home run and a double. But it was good to know that I could imagine myself taking everything that was causing issues and put it to the side so I could focus on playing.
And I think what's really important about that story, Lex, is it's not that things are going to be perfect. It's not like being mentally strong means that there's nothing that happens. Life happens and things happen, and there's going to be distractions and things that are affecting you negatively. It's not that, I'm so proud of you to go into the bathroom, have that moment for yourself, have those feelings, move through some of that. It's not like things are, people are not going to hurt your feelings, because people are, but you were able to do that. But then when you step out on that field, you don't want people that haven't earned the right to take your power away to take your power away. And so that's the difference, is be able to, okay, now I have to go in to do what I want to do, and I can't let that affect me in a negative way, and I can't let that be in my A circle. And that's such a good experience and a good explanation of you being able to manage yourself in a situation that wasn't easy for you.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Press, what have you learned from our work, or what do you remember a situation where all of a sudden it kind of like you were able to do what you wanted to do, or you had a situation where you were able to, work in a situation that in the past may not have been that easy?
Well, I remember the one time, with you always taught me, like, to not think my way through my pitch and feel it, because I don't like to think. It just doesn't really work out for me. So I feel like whenever I succeed, I just don't think. And I trust my defense and I pitch, because after I release the ball, it has nothing to do with me. Like, that's over. Like, it's the next play. And I just, like, if I would have known that before, it would have been really helpful.
Well, I'm glad you know now,
Me too.
because I didn't know these things until I was like 35. Presley, can you imagine? I got a lot of work, a lot of like making up to do. But Presley, that's exactly it. You're not equal to the result. You're not equal to if somebody hits the ball, or if somebody hits a home run, or if somebody strikes out. Your job is to focus on throwing the ball your best to get the best opportunity for you in that situation. And that's a great explanation on how you were able to separate you from the result, or from the sport, or from anything else outside of that you couldn't control. Right. And this is always a work in progress. I always tell athletes to give themselves permission to not be perfect, so they can adjust as they go, because like life happens, and then there's something going on that you think about, or that affects you. And so it's continually being more accepting of yourself within that situation, so you can do your best, so that over time in any situation, you know what to focus on, you know what to think about, you know how to manage your A circle in a better way. I love that, Lexi. I don't know if I love that one time I was with you in session, and you told your pitcher, because you're a catcher, and your pitcher had a home run hit off of her, and you had taught your teammates some of these strategies. Can you just share a little bit about what you were able to do, or how you were able to spread the word, so to speak, to help your teammates with you? Because I know you had like an accountability situation. Can you just talk a little bit about that?
Yes, ma'am. So me and the pitcher of my high school team, we were the only two at the time of my high school team to be going to college to play softball. And we had known each other from like club travel ball in the past. So we were both actually working. I was working with you, and she was working with her own mental coach at the time. And we were both kind of just letting each other know how sessions were going, because we would kind of talk about our issues with each other before we both had coaches to actually talk to about it. And I was telling her about, it was right after the first session, and I had a game that day right after our first session. And we focused on that one, the A, B, and C circle. And I think the reason why that one stuck so much with me is just because it was my first one, and I felt so much change after it. And like I saw through like a different lens, I guess you could use that term. I actually cried to my mom afterwards. I was like, this is going to be a good thing for me. But what I told her was, like, I explained what A, B, and C circle meant. And it was that very, like, that same game. She had a home run hit off of her. And so came into the dugout and I let her know. I was like, okay, I was like, we're going to do this for C circle. So anytime she would like miss a pitch or someone would get a hit off of her, I would look at her as I'm like squatted behind the plate and I would do this. And she did the same thing for me whenever I would do anything wrong or if something bad would happen. So it's like we were kind of doing it as like a reminder, but also it allowed us to, I guess, not think so heavily about mistakes, kind of took some of that pressure off and be like, it's okay. We'll put it in the C circle. We're fine. And it kind of minimized the effects of bad things.
You're right. And I think that athletes, you're taught not in an intentional way, but athletes are taught a lot of times that they're responsible for the result. Especially, I think my pitchers in baseball and softball, they tend to feel equal to the result because they feel responsible for it. And I think that that's a great situation where you were able to work through the fact that you're not equal to the result. And so we don't need to take that on. We don't need to feel like we're responsible for it. And that's one way of doing it. Because okay, that goes in my C circle, because then it gives you the ability to then focus back on what you need to do in the next situation. It's not that we don't feel bad about hitting a home run off of us, but it just doesn't belong in the next moment when you're trying to pitch the ball and when you're trying to play and be successful in the next situation. So I think that that's and that's also a great way for, when people are mentally stronger and they're using these tools and they're in their body. I know, Presley, when I saw you playing a game, you were just in your body. Like you said, your body was in your A circle. Your mind was not. You were throwing the ball. You didn't care because I was there and there were your grandparents were there and your mom and dad were there and I was there. Could have been a lot of things that got in your A circle. I wanted to tell your grandpa to be quiet at times, even though I love your grandpa. I was like, oh, but you were in your body and you were managing your A circle. And there's a leadership role in that when people can see you doing that. It's not like you have to teach A circle for them to be able to practice it and do what you're showing them. It's just kind of a great opportunity for athletes to be a leader without even having to say anything. And Presley, I saw that in that game when I watched you. Your teammates were just like, I don't know what that is, but I like it. She's in her body. She's just doing her thing. You were able to manage your A circle and do your job. And it's not always easy to do that. There are different things that come up, but I think that that's important, that that's available to you. And you were able to manage that as a 7th grader playing varsity pitching. And I think that was one of your first games. I think it was like one of the first games that you pitched for varsity.
Yeah, it was one of the first ones.
So can you just explain maybe an experience that you've had, and it doesn't necessarily have to be just in your sport, but where in the long run, what have you been able to use, or what's been really helpful for you with your friends, your teammates, your family? For you, what can you think of anything that you want to share with people to kind of explain that?
I think for pitching, to be successful, I knew that I was good, and I told myself before each pitch, I would tell myself something like, I don't know, you're gonna strike this girl out, or this is gonna be a good pitch and your defense is gonna make the play, because I had to trust my defense either way if they were struggling. But I knew that they were behind me, and it's not just me on the field, because I've struggled before with thinking that I have to do all the work
Mhm.
because when you don't trust your defense, then you feel like it's all on you, and then it's not good. But I knew that, like, for varsity, I knew that I was good, and I told myself that. And I knew that everyone was on my side, and I trusted that. And whoever came to my game, I would try my hardest not even to look at the stands, because that would not help, because then I would think other things. But I would just, not look.
And you've got some like coping strategies that are bridging the gap for you to be able to manage yourself in those situations as well, right? You know, you have an A circle, but you've got all kinds of things going on that in the past would have affected you. The idea of, you know, being responsible for the result, the idea of you wanting to please everybody, you know, that was there, and your teammates and your coaches and everybody. So you've been able to separate yourself from some of those situations that in the past may have controlled you or may have kicked you out of your body.
Mm-hmm.
That's such a good practicing strategy. Can you relate, Lexi?
Oh, completely. I have a huge family. My cousins and my aunt and uncle live in the same neighborhood as me. My nana lives right up the road. All of my family lives around here. And especially for big games, you'll see all your family in the stands, all your friends in the stands, and you're like, goodness, like I gotta play good in front of these people. And then it'll be the exact same, like in travel ball, and then you're gonna see all college coaches sitting in the stands, including your parents and your family and your friends. It's a lot. You can, especially, the good thing with me being a catcher, my back was always towards them, so I never could see them. But and I know obviously I can't speak from experience, but I do the same thing. I put the weight of the world on my shoulders, especially playing. And at as a catcher, for me, my number one goal was to try and not make my pitcher feel like that. So I would always try and take that feeling off of her, but then I'd end up putting it on myself, which wasn't the most beneficial. But I was trying not to make my pitchers feel the way that you did, like where if anything went wrong, it was always your fault, because I never believed that. I feel like everybody's responsible for himself, but I was just wanting to say I know exactly how you're feeling, but I get the one up because my back's toward them. So,
And it's like, and that's the thing that both of you guys are doing such a great job at. You know, you're giving yourself permission to be perfect so you can be better over time. And these are all practicing strategies that you can learn from and use as so that I remember my daughter as a Division I gymnast, she was like, Mom, I had to learn how every single time I didn't catch the bar, every time that Sarah yelled at me, her coach, or every time I couldn't do something I needed to do, I use those as stepping stones and building blocks for what I knew I needed to be prepared for when I was competing in college. And so all these experiences that you guys are learning and understanding and coping with and having a solution for, this is all practice for you to continue to move toward your goals and your goal beyond the goal, so that when you're playing in college, when you're playing in whatever game your goal is at the end of the day, you can be your best. We're not just practicing to get to where you want to go. We want you to be successful with the goals that you're achieving and with where you want to be at the end of the day. And I think that you're both such a great example of figuring it out, taking responsibility, trying to take the pressure off of yourselves. But athletes want to do well, and you guys want to do your best. And I love that about athletes. There's a huge amount of motivation into doing it perfectly, or to playing well, or to pitch a perfect game, or, you know, to take all the pressure off your pitcher. You know, there's all of this stuff that you guys want to do. that I encourage you to continue to want to do that. There's nothing wrong with that. But managing yourself within that and being accepting of you within those situations can be really helpful, because then at the end of the day, you're not equal to the result. It's just what you're learning along the way, and you can celebrate the result as well as learn from what doesn't go well. Does that make sense? Okay. Have either of you experienced a situation outside of the sport that you can share where you've been able to manage yourself in a way that you couldn't before? I know when people learn A Circle, they can communicate better. They can manage their friends better sometimes. Is there any experience that either one of you have gone through outside of the sport where you can share?
Well, I'll go ahead and go. So I don't want to always talk about like A Circle and all of that. So focusing on like goal beyond the goal. So obviously going into college, it's like the new chapter and everything. And I've just been trying to figure out what exactly it is that I want to do and I want to study. So I'm trying, and I'm still currently trying to figure out what I want to do. So I'm just using goal beyond the goal. I'm trying to focus on the little things as I'm working up to it. And I'm working now so that like I'm planning on taking courses online during the winter and in the summer to try and make it easier for me in the future, because my goal is to be done with my bachelor's degree by 21. That's like the goal, because I took all college classes in high school. So I've just been, I guess, slowly working my way up to trying and get as much school done as I can so that it'll be easier for me to figure out what I want to do. But that's still not working. I'm clueless right now.
Well, that's what Goal Beyond the Goal is all about, because I still have lots of things that I want to do, right? That, a lot of people don't ever know what they want. They maybe find out what they don't want to do along the way and along the process. But I love that, because you're still getting a lot done, even if you don't exactly know what's at the, at the end of the day, what it is that you want to do. You could always come and work for me, Lex. I'm always looking for coaches. We're franchising. So
that is definitely one career path that I'm looking at, but I'm trying to do pros and cons list about everyone.
Yep. And I have a snowboarder who's doing some social media for me, and she goes to the X Games. She's at UCLA, and she's doing similar things. She needs to take the winter off of school, so she does spring and summer, but she is doing some work for me now. So it's kind of fun to just connect with all these different opportunities and possibilities, and using Goal Beyond the Goal, I think, is a great way for you to keep aligned with where you're at, to move toward what you want as you know more about that. Press, have you been using it at all outside of your sport? Have you had any experiences that you can share?
I'm not sure, because like with like A Circle, you mean?
You've been able to manage your A Circle with like friends and teammates and things like that as well?
Yeah, like with my team, it was really clicky. Like there were a lot of like cliques on my team. Like everyone was there were like 5 girls that had already been on the same team, and then there were like these 4 second years that were all like really old, and I'm like the youngest on my team, and I was the only one from St. Louis Park, and it was hard to like fit in because everyone was like, they already knew each other. And like the first practice, I remember going, and I was just like nervous because everybody knew someone and I didn't. And I was just like, I couldn't like worry about that because like I knew that I could fit in, but like it was hard for me to like fit in. And it always was. Like I never felt like on this team, I never felt like I fit in that much, and it like wasn't the best, but we were still good. And but it was hard to like for everyone to come together because you can't play your best when you don't have a good relationship with each other. And we struggled with that all year until the last 2 weeks, and we all bonded, and it was really good. And we ended up winning a national championship in Peoria. So it was cool.
Well, you're just you expressing that, Press, and everybody in the world has experienced situations where they didn't feel they fit in, but they did, even though they didn't know it. And there's a lot of things with athletes that go on, and I'm not saying this about your experience necessarily, but there's a lot of people who are or threatened or feeling insecure, and that can come out in their behavior, you know. And I think athletes need to know that if somebody's mean to you or somebody's not supportive of you, it probably has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with how they're feeling on the inside, because I can only see in you what I have in me. So if I'm insecure and jealous and threatened, then I'm only going to be able to reflect that out into the world and onto the people around me. And you know, you're the youngest one on the team, and really good. And I'm sure that those people didn't quite know what to do to some degree about you in that experience. And I think that it's just really important for people to know that if someone is not open and not very nice, it has everything to do with them and not you. It's almost like it's a compliment to you if people are threatened. Lexi, can you experience with that? Does that?
So talking about with jealousy, I was talking whenever you were getting it all set up, I was talking with Presley a little bit just about how her experience are and like team she plays on and just getting to know her a little bit. And I could see, I act like I'm so old, but I'm only like 18. I could like see how I was the same way at her age, playing for the higher teams, like branching out to other teams or more competitive teams. And I dealt with a lot of the backlash of jealousy and things like that. And I think the most important thing that I remember you telling me and expressing was you're playing for yourself, but not selfishly playing for yourself. Like you're playing for your own, what's the word? Like you're not playing for those other girls, the ones that are jealous or don't think the highest of you or are threatened by your passion or competitiveness. Like you're not playing for them, you're playing for yourself. But you're playing for yourself so that you can play for your team. It sounds really confusing, but like I feel like athletes understand that expression.
Well, you can only give away what you have inside.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I don't take care of myself, how can I share it and how can I give it away to you?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the other side of, you know, I can only see in you what I have in me. And so if I only have ugliness on the inside, I'm not certainly going to be able to see anything other than ugliness from you. And so if we don't put ourselves in our own A circle and then, you know, put ourselves out into the world, how are we going to be able to connect with other people? How are they going to be able to connect with us if we're not in our own A circle, playing our best and putting ourselves out there and being accountable to that?
Yeah.
And you know, there is always going to be people that are not going to support you, but that has nothing to do with your need and your ability to continue to put yourself out there. You know, and I think that can be hard at times, but it can be a really good lesson to just keep going, even if people aren't supportive of you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to say to all the athletes and all the families, the parents? Any advice for parents?
Parents, well, again, I'm only 18, so I can't really go out and speak from experience, but I can speak from like a kid's experience and a kid's perspective, or your child or your athletes. I know I was always looking for reassurance, not just from my parents or not just from coaches or teammates, but just reassurance in general from anyone I could get it from, whether it was how I was playing or how my game went. Now, I'm not saying don't coddle them or anything like that, but maybe sometimes give in a little bit and give that reassurance, because the way sports are nowadays, it's a lot, and there's a lot that goes on, and I just think sometimes you can branch out a little bit and give reassurance. And I think it would just always reminding them that you're proud of them and you're proud of how far they've come and how they played and things like that. It's just the little things that actually mean a lot to athletes and kids whenever you're dealing with school, friends, your sports. Sometimes it's just good. It's like a little blanket. It's like a comfort blanket. And sometimes kids need that.
You know, it's interesting that you say that, Lexi, because I had a situation where this week I had a client, she's a gymnast, and she hadn't done her back handspring on the beam for a year. And after the first session, her mom texted me and her mom said, like, yeah, she did her back handspring, but her form was terrible. And I was like, wait a minute, she hasn't done her back handspring for a year, but you're upset because her form wasn't good.
And that's what my mom, she played collegiate softball also. So she's always pushing me, but she also has always found a way to reassure me that I was doing good and reminding me that she was proud of me. So now when I'm going now to go play D1 softball, I know I'll still have my hard mom, and she's going to tell me what I need to do and need to fix. But I also know that I was able to talk to her about it, that sometimes I do just need the comfort and the reassurance that you're proud of me and that I'm doing all I can.
And I always tell athletes when this type of situation happens, because coaches, you know, if a coach says to me, yes, she's doing this now she needs to work on this. You know, oh, she did her, you know, something, but now she needs to work on her communication. Coaches and parents are always going to see their athlete from their potential.
Mm-hmm.
Thing that athlete does that isn't according to their idea of their potential, that coach or mom or parent is going to continue to push that athlete to be in their potential. What I want athletes to know is that's a compliment to you. If your mom and your coach are constantly correcting you and pushing you and have that desire for you, that just means that they see you from your potential.
And that's a good thing.
Exactly. So it's not something that you're lacking because you're not where they think you need to be. It's more about, okay, my mom sees me from my potential. Thank you very much. Now I just need to continue to move toward that and do my best. But it doesn't mean that you're lacking in any way if they're constantly correcting you or pushing you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what I'm not telling parents how you should raise your athletes, but sometimes you can take a break from the pushing and you can just tell them you're proud of them and make them the comfort. That's just the only way I know how to explain it. But
yeah, exactly.
I'm all for pushing.
Right. We all need a push, but managing your A circle can be helpful so that it doesn't kick you out of your body or cause issues over time for you to not be able to mentally manage yourself. Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks, Presley, for being here. And we'll have to do this again sometime. You can come back anytime.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, you guys. Take care. Thanks, Lex. See you later. Bye-bye.